Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Today we're going deep on Writing Well
Oh, a classic.
by William Zinsser. I think anyone who, writes anything at all can get something out of this one.
Absolutely. Timeless advice in this book.
Yeah, and it's all about writing clearly and engagingly, especially nonfiction.
Which is, what, 90% of what we read every day?
Right. Emails, blogs, articles.
Trying to decipher some reports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Zinsser just cuts right to the chase.
He does. And one of the first things he tackles is this idea of clutter.
Clutter. Okay, what does he mean by clutter?
So imagine you're reading, say, a travel blog.
Okay, I love a good travel blog.
Right. But instead of just saying, the market was buzzing, the writer gives you, like, the aforementioned marketplace was experiencing a heightened degree of pedestrian traffic and commercial activity.
Oof. Yeah, I'd probably just close that tab, honestly.
Exactly. And Zinsser would say, good riddance. He really believed in getting rid of unnecessary words and phrases.
So, less is more kind of thing.
Definitely. But it's not just about sounding smart, it's about respecting the reader.
Okay, I get that. So, how does this decluttering idea apply to, like, finding your own voice? Zinsser talked about that too, right?
He does, and it might seem counterintuitive, but he's all for being yourself in your writing.
Really? But what about all that advice to be objective, especially in nonfiction?
That has its place, sure. But Zinsser realized that people connect with authenticity. He actually encourages writers to use I.
Huh, interesting. I was always taught to avoid I like the plague.
I think we all were, at some point, yeah.
So, when is it okay to use I? Or is it always a no-go?
Well, you probably wouldn't want to use it in a, say, scientific paper.
Right, that makes sense.
But in something like that travel blog we were talking about, where your personal experiences are kind of the point.
Then it's okay to embrace the I.
Absolutely. Zinsser would say it would be weird not to.
That actually makes a lot of sense when you put it like that.
It's all about honesty, really. When a reader trusts you, they're more likely to be drawn into your world.
Okay, so by being myself and using I, I'm actually making my writing stronger.
Exactly. And to make those experiences even more vivid, Zinsser would tell you to ditch the cliches and use more concrete details.
The concrete details, huh? I can see how that would make a difference.
It's huge. It's like, instead of saying the food was amazing, you describe the aroma of spices, you know?
Yeah, make me taste it.
Exactly. And Zinsser was great at that. He talks about visiting the Baseball Hall of Fame, and what really stuck with him weren't the famous bats or anything.
What was it then?
The shoes, the players' shoes.
Yeah.
Worn out, from countless hours on the field.
Wow, that's a great detail.
Right, and it makes you think about those players in a whole new way, their dedication.
Yeah, the grind.
Exactly. So instead of saying, I went to Paris and saw the Eiffel Tower, you could say,
Okay, let me try. The scent of freshly baked croissants lured me down a narrow street, and suddenly, there it was, the Eiffel Tower, towering above me like a giant, what would you say? Like a giant what?
I don't know, that's for you to decide. What did it look like to you?
Good point. Okay, so concrete details, check. What else did Zinsser have to say about writing well?
Well, he was very particular about verbs, loved a strong verb.
Okay, who isn't? Verbs are action.
Right, but people lean on adverbs too much. He actually called adverbs the enemy of the verb.
The enemy. Wow, okay. I have to admit, I use my fair share of adverbs.
We all do, but think about it. Instead of saying he walked slowly, you could say he sauntered, or he shuffled, or
It's
even...
lumbered. I like that one.
Right, much more evocative. One word instead of two, and it packs so much more punch.
Okay, Zinsser, I'm listening. I will pay more attention to my verbs from now on.
And while we're talking about strong writing, he had a great tip for sentences in general.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Read them out loud.
Seriously.
Seriously, your ear will catch things that your eye might miss.
Like clunky phrases or sentences that are way too long.
Exactly. It's like listening to music, you can tell when something's off-key.
That's a really good analogy. I never thought about it like that.
And speaking of rhythm, Zinsser also had a lot to say about those opening lines, those first few sentences that hook your reader.
The lead. Yeah, that's so important.
He was all about cutting to the chase. No burying the lead, as they say.
Okay, so how do I write a lead that would make Zinsser proud?
Start with something specific, something unexpected. Grab the reader's attention from the first word.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Think back to the Baseball Hall of Fame. What about those shoes surprised you?
That they were even on display. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but still.
Exactly. So find that detail in your own writing, that thing that's both specific and unexpected.
Okay, I think I've got something. So I was writing about this crazy experience I had with a monkey who stole my sunglasses.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And it involved, like, a whole chase scene and me bribing him with a banana to get them back.
That's a great story.
Right. So what if I started with something like, it wasn't the ancient temples or the bustling markets that defined my trip to. Wherever I was, I haven't decided yet. It was the mischievous glint in the eye of a monkey wearing my stolen sunglasses. How's that?
That's fantastic. You've got my attention, that's for sure.
Right. It's specific, it's unexpected, and it sets the tone for the whole piece.
Zinsser would approve.
Okay, good. I'm feeling more confident already.
That's what you would want.
So I've got my concrete details, my strong verbs, my killer lead. Anything else?
Just one more thing. Even the best writers need a good editor.
Oh, right. I always forget about that part.
It's so important. Someone who can look at your work with fresh eyes.
But how do I find a good editor? I mean, I can't just ask my mom to read it, right?
Well, in some cases, maybe you could, but you're right. It's usually best to find someone with a bit more
Expertise.
exactly. And we'll talk all about that right after this.
All right, we're back. Ready to talk editors.
Absolutely. It's an important step, even if it sometimes feels a little bit like,
Like handing your baby over to a stranger.
kind of.
Yeah.
But it's more like finding the right tour guide,
Okay, I like that analogy. So how do I find my perfect writing Sherpa?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid to ask around. Talk to other writers.
Word of mouth.
Exactly. It's amazing how many people have found great editors that way. And of course, there are, online resources, writing groups, websites.
Oh, right, like those freelance platforms.
Exactly. You can often find editors there, see their experience, maybe even get some testimonials from other clients.
Okay, so do your research, read the reviews, just like booking a hotel.
Exactly. And once you've found a few potential candidates, don't be shy about asking for a sample edit.
Oh, that's a good idea. So I can see how they work with my style.
Exactly. Because a good editor will help you polish your work without, bulldozing your voice.
Right, because it's still my story.
Exactly. And Zinsser was a big believer in writers advocating for their own work, even when it's tough.
Yeah, I can see how that could be hard. You're kind of putting your heart out there for critique.
It can be. But a good editor will understand that. They'll be your partner in making your writing the best it can be.
So it's a collaboration.
Exactly. And clear communication is key. Let them know your goals, what you're hoping to achieve with your writing.
Okay, so be upfront about what I want.
Exactly. But also be open to their suggestions. They might see things you don't.
It's all about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Like trusting their expertise, but also staying true to my own vision.
You've got it. And, through it all, remember what we talked about at the beginning, Zinsser's love for clear, engaging writing. That should be your guiding light.
I love that. Okay, so I'm feeling inspired, ready to tackle my writing with newfound clarity and maybe even a little bit of Zinsser's wit.
That's what we like to hear.
This has been fantastic, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today.
Time flies when you're having fun with on writing well.
It really does. So until next time, happy writing, everyone.
And remember, ditch the clutter.